If you had asked me how life was before Premier, I would have said it was great. A great job. I have a great husband and a good education, and really didn't ever feel like I was wanting for anything. However, I have migraines, and they had stopped me from doing so many things. I had been afraid to just even leave town for the weekend or a day, because when the migraines came, I would have to stop everything and lay down until I started to feel better. And I'd gone to a neurologist and they'd given me a prescription. It was about $500 a month. I was really trying to find a way to be able to come up with that extra income, but we were also buying a house and going to school and, just the day-to-day of living. We just needed something extra. I went to a jewelry show during this time. I went to a jewelry show and I didn't really even wear jewelry. I wore the classic look, which was a pair of stud earrings that I hope people thought were real and a fine, delicate chain necklace. But I really wasn't looking for something. I was actually a snob to home parties. I would never go to one, and for heaven's sakes, I would never do that business. I was ready for them to give me a really hard sales pitch. And then when I heard about the business, it made so much sense. It was a really good business. I have a business degree, and when I heard them talking about how you earned money and how you did your business, it all made a ton of sense. She did ask, "What do you think?" And I just blurted out, "I'm going to do it." And I think I surprised her, and I know I surprised myself, but I went home and I told Kevin, my husband, that I had signed up, and he said, "Did you need one more thing to do?" But I really saw Premier as an opportunity to get just that short burst of cash that we needed. I never really had the opportunity to spend time with Christian women like this. My husband and I weren't saved, and he was actually an atheist and I was agnostic, and God figured nowhere into our plans. But when I would go to training and these women would talk about Jesus in a way that I'd never heard before. Our trainings opened in prayer, and all of our trainings centered around a biblical principle. So I was introduced to a little bit of scripture here and there. And while I had everything I'd wanted in my life, I didn't have peace. I'd started to wonder what it was about this Jesus that brought them this joy. And one of the things that I noticed was these leaders would all come to training with scripture. And I thought, well, if I want to be a leader, I need to know some scripture, but I didn't even own a Bible. And so I thought, I need to go to a church, and I just need to lift some phrases from some sermons or something that will help me fit in with the leadership. And I told my husband about it, that I wanted to go to church. And in my heart, I also kind of wanted to know more about this God thing, but I knew I could really sell it to him if I made it about my business. And so he said that he would be happy to go with me. Then we started looking for a church. And so that Sunday when we got up and we went to this church, we pulled into the parking lot, and it felt like it was just tailor-made for us. It was very comfortable. When the pastor was calling for an altar call, I started praying. I started praying that I get saved. I stayed in my seat because I didn't want my husband to know, but I was praying God, I don't understand how Jesus is your son, but if you say he is, then I'll believe it. And I don't understand how I'm a sinner, but if you say that I am, I will trust you. If you want me, you're going to have to come down and get me. And he did. In that moment, everything changed. About a week after that was my first national rally. I didn't know what to expect, and it was overwhelming for a new Christian to walk into that kind of environment where it's very loving and uplifting and encouraging, and everyone was just very kind and very happy. And there was even a group of women, it felt like a dozen, maybe more, that gathered around me, and we started praying for my husband. After I got home from Raleigh, it was amazing. And I couldn't wait to tell my husband about everything that had happened. He was just as touched by all of the things that I shared with him. And I let him know that I'd been praying for him. He told me that when I first told him I wanted to start going to a church, that he had started listening to a radio station that is 24 hours preaching. He'd been listening to that for several months, and I had no idea. But he was listening to it on his way home when I was at Raleigh. One of the pastors that was on that station said, if you're looking for the Lord, you can stop because he's there. So he pulled over on the side of the road and he gave his life to the Lord. And he asked for Jesus to be the Lord of his life. Our lives completely changed from that point. That peace and that joy that these women radiated, I finally understood what it was. As much fun as I was having in Premier, I was also in pain a lot. My migraines were getting worse, and they were kind of different than they'd ever been before. And some days it was unbearable. The medicine that I was taking, it still helps me, but everything else hurt all the time. I had to stop doing the things we enjoyed together, like going hiking and walking and swimming, just all kinds of things that we used to enjoy. I was in too much pain to do anymore. I was on my way to a jewelry show in September of 2010. That day was the start of something different. Instead of having a migraine every once in a while, I would have every once in a while that I didn't have one. Everything hurt and I couldn't even move, it felt like. When I got home from the show that day, I came in the house and I went straight to bed. And I was in so much pain that I couldn't even speak to my husband to really tell him what was going on. And that lasted for about 3 days. And he finally took me to the emergency room. They didn't know what was going on. They didn't know what was wrong with me. They didn't have any answers. And so I just had to come home, and then it did it again. So this happened continuously for years. We didn't know what was happening, but I was diagnosed in 2014 with Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, which is an incurable genetic disorder that means basically my collagen isn't built like everybody else's. It's not dense enough, and it affects not only my joints and my bones, but my circulatory system, my respiratory system. Though you can't see it, feels like nothing is working as it should, and it's very unpredictable. I never know when it's going to happen. So my life has gone from carefree and spontaneous to I have to be very methodical now, conscious of every move that I make. I don't have inexhaustible energy anymore, and I get injured really easily. This is my new normal. Ehlers-Danlos is not a curable disorder. I'll have it for the rest of my life. It was a really hard diagnosis. To know that my whole life is going to be different. The thing in my life that remained consistent was Premier. As much pain as I was in, I could go to training and focus on other people. My why is different today than it was when I started. The reason I do it is so that I can spend time with other women, that I can get out of myself, out of the situation that I'm in, out of how I'm feeling today, and I can focus on bringing joy to someone else and sharing the hope that Premier has given me. I love being with my Premier family. I love all the relationships that I've built, all the friendships that I have now. I know what hope looks like, and I can give that to others. Premier has been a constant for me that saw me through some really hard days, some really great days. And no matter what I do, as long as I have that purpose of sharing hope with others, It's going to be a great day.